Magic Johnson and Larry Bird are still seen as two of the biggest icons the game has ever produced. Their careers almost feel like mirror images. Two incredible players on opposite sides of the league, bringing legendary franchises back to life while helping push the NBA to a whole new level. Before the shoe deals, the heated debates, and the non-stop comparisons, they were simply two young superstars who refused to let the other pull ahead. Every MVP race, every finals appearance, every record, and every major milestone felt even bigger because the other guy was always right there with an answer. If Magic had an unforgettable season, Bird came back with one of his own. If Bird made history, Magic wasn't far behind. That's why so many players from that era still point to these two whenever the conversation turns to the greatest careers. Magic, the 6'9" playmaker, turned the fast break into pure entertainment and proved that passing could be just as exciting as scoring. Bird was a fearless shot maker who controlled games with incredible skill, grit, and the kind of confidence that could shake opponents long before the final buzzer sounded. Their legacy isn't only found in championship banners. It's still alive in the stories former players tell, in the film today's stars continue to study, and in the way their names have become the standard for true greatness. In this video, you'll hear directly from legends who battled both men and discover how they answer one question that basketball fans still argue about today: who really had the greater career? For Isaiah Thomas, facing Larry Bird and Magic Johnson wasn't just another matchup. He was competing against two players who were changing basketball right in front of everyone's eyes. They stood at the center of one of the most unforgettable decades in NBA history, and whenever they stepped onto the court, it felt like the entire basketball world was watching. Every showdown carried extra weight, and every performance seemed to raise the bar even higher. From Isaiah's point of view, Bird and Magic changed the expectations for an entire generation. Their rivalry pushed every player to improve, made every game feel important, and helped turn the NBA into a worldwide attraction. Players weren't only chasing wins, they were chasing the level of greatness that Magic and Bird had already established. To Isaiah, those two didn't just collect championships. They changed how basketball was played, how fans connected with the sport, and how the game grew into a global phenomenon. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar experienced Magic Johnson's impact up close every single day, and that partnership completely shaped his view of what true greatness looked like. Playing beside Magic showed him how a real leader could bring everyone together, read the game several steps ahead, and make everything seem easier without forcing the action. Magic controlled the offense like few players ever have. He always seemed to know exactly where every teammate needed to be, and he turned teamwork into one of the Lakers' biggest strengths. To Kareem, that wasn't just talent. It was a rare gift that made an entire team feel connected whenever Magic had the ball in his hands. Even with that close bond, Kareem never held back his respect for Larry Bird. They battled on the biggest stages, and Kareem knew firsthand that Bird would never be outworked or intimidated by the pressure. He admired Bird's complete game, from the shooting and passing to the toughness and incredible basketball IQ. More than anything, Kareem believed Bird had a special feel for the game that even many all-time greats couldn't match. To Kareem, Bird was one of the toughest players anyone could face when everything was on the line. Still, sharing the court with Magic gave him an even deeper appreciation for leadership. It wasn't only about putting up amazing numbers, it was about keeping teammates together, earning their trust, and making everyone around you play better. Shaquille O'Neal never got the chance to battle Bird or Magic during their absolute prime, but he grew up watching them closely before eventually joining the very franchise Magic helped make famous. Walking into the Lakers meant stepping into a place where Magic's influence could still be felt everywhere. His banners, unforgettable highlights, and the stories surrounding Lakers basketball were impossible to ignore. As one of the most dominant physical forces the league has ever seen, Shaq appreciated the completely different way Magic used his size. Standing 6'9", Magic wasn't trying to overpower defenders in the paint. Instead, he controlled the game through vision, smart decisions, and pinpoint passing. He kept the offense moving, found teammates in perfect spots, and played with a style that looked way ahead of its time. Watching that gave Shaq an even greater respect for just how unique Magic really was. Shaq also had tremendous respect for Larry Bird. What stood out most wasn't flashy moves or loud celebrations. It was Bird's toughness and relentless competitive mindset. He played through pain, challenged whoever stood in front of him, and never backed away from the biggest moments. Shaq admired that mentality because he valued the same kind of edge in his own career. Even so, when the conversation shifted to leadership and what the Lakers represented, Magic stood in a class of his own. To Shaq, Magic showed that you didn't have to overpower everyone physically to control the game. Vision, trust, and making teammates better could be just as powerful.
For me, it would have to be Magic Johnson, because if you look at the traditional point guard, they've always been not small, but smaller. You know, Magic was the first oversized guy that excelled at being a point guard. You know, he actually gave Chris and myself the confidence to be able to get the ball, take it off the glass, and go. I actually used to hate Larry Bird. I hated him. Because,
why?
I mean, because, well, not hate him, I was sort of like, you know, jealous of him, because he was a regular guy that did everything. He shot it in your face, he had to fade away. One time, I was watching a game, they was playing somebody, and I was betting this guy, and he was falling out of bounds, and he shot that thing over the backboard and it went in. I was like, you know, and you know, I thought most of what he did was luck, but as I, you know, got older and kept watching, I just knew that it was skill. And, you know, for him to even have his name mentioned in this category with Magic and Michael Jordan just shows how great.
Steve Smith entered the NBA just after the Bird and Magic era reached its peak, but their influence was still everywhere he looked. He caught the final stretch of their careers, and even more importantly, he competed with players whose games had been shaped by those two legends. When Smith watched Larry Bird, he wasn't focused only on points, rebounds, or statistics. What impressed him most was Bird's calm approach. It always looked like Bird knew exactly how every play would unfold before anyone else reacted. He never rushed, never forced the action, and never seemed shaken by the moment. He simply moved to the right spot and made the right play at the right time. For a guard like Steve Smith, who built his own game around timing, angles, and smart decisions, that level of poise left a lasting impression that he never forgot.
Players, but just to talk about Larry, for me to see the guy who can shoot the basketball, but then also be able to change his game up, but to do whatever he had to do to win. You know, kind of like Magic, kind of like Michael, but you know, I was impressed for a guy with his athletic ability, which was not a lot, to be able to rebound the basketball, to really take the fundamentals of the game and take it to another level. I mean, everything fundamentally, if you watch Larry Bird, he did at a top level. I mean, but if I had to pick, because I started my team always with a center and a point guard. So taking nothing away from Michael. We all know he's the greatest player, but if I'm gonna start my guy with a team with a point guard or a center, I have to go with Magic Johnson, because now I can plug any 2, 3, 4, 5 with a Magic Johnson and we'll have a chance.
As time went on, Steve Smith gained an even deeper respect for what Magic Johnson brought to the game. To him, Magic completely changed what it meant to lead from the perimeter. He wasn't just another superstar putting up big numbers. He was the kind of player you could build an entire franchise around and trust that everything on the court would fall into place. Every possession seemed more organized, every teammate looked more confident, and the whole team moved with purpose because Magic was in control. Larry Bird earned just as much admiration from Smith, but for different reasons. Bird was one of the smartest and toughest competitors he had ever studied. He was a closer who stayed calm under pressure, made the right reads, and finished plays with incredible precision. He never wasted movement, and he always seemed one step ahead. Still, if Smith had to choose one player to build a team around, he leaned toward Magic. In his eyes, Magic offered the complete package: elite talent, natural leadership, and the rare ability to bring chemistry to everyone around him. Phil Jackson never coached Larry Bird or Magic Johnson, but preparing to face them gave him a front-row seat to their greatness. As one of basketball's greatest tactical minds, Jackson studied every little detail. When he looked at Bird, he didn't just see an elite scorer. He saw a player who turned the smallest mistake into a huge problem. Bird mastered angles, moved without the ball as well as anyone, and punished defenders the instant they lost focus. Against him, there was almost no room for error. Bird wasn't someone you could relax against for even a second. If your defense slipped, he spotted it immediately and made you pay.
Larry Bird, Magic Johnson.
Wow. Well, you know, Magic's got a post-up game. Larry had a good post-up game too, but Larry was an outside step-back shooter. He had a great shot, you know, and I think I'd probably go with Larry. He's probably the better one.
Is that what you wanted to hear?
What did I say? I knew Larry.
Jackson respected how little space Bird actually needed to change a game. All it took was one clean look, one balanced shot, and suddenly, the momentum had shifted. Bird's confidence never looked forced. He simply expected to deliver when the moment arrived, and more often than not, he did. Magic demanded an entirely different game plan. Instead of worrying about stopping one signature move, coaches had to prepare for the way he controlled every possession. His passing, court vision, and ability to organize an offense made defending the Lakers a completely different challenge. For Phil Jackson, Bird could overwhelm you with scoring, while Magic could quietly take control of the entire game until it felt impossible to get it back. Both demanded complete attention, just in very different ways. Chris Webber entered the NBA after Bird and Magic had already stepped away from center stage, but their influence was impossible to miss. They remained the blueprint for greatness, and Webber spent countless hours studying their game film. He wasn't only interested in the highlight plays, he wanted to understand what separated them from everyone else and why they kept winning year after year. Larry Bird immediately stood out. His game wasn't built around flashy dunks or incredible athleticism. Instead, it was built on making the smartest decision every single possession. Webber admired that approach because Bird focused on winning instead of chasing attention. The more film he watched, the more he realized Bird had an incredible way of making opponents uncomfortable. His movement, passing, positioning, and timing always made it seem like he already knew what the defense was about to do before they did.
And when I think of Magic Johnson, if I'm starting my team with the point guard that sat in the captain's chair and played center in every position in the game in the championship, there's no way I'm going against Magic. I have help defenders that can probably help. You know, you look at all these guys are great, but you look at the first few years of all these guys, they all had great Hall of Famers, and maybe Mike didn't have that in the beginning, but to me, the one thing is Magic, being the leader that he is. One thing that is, maybe it is up for question, but Magic to me in the history of the game is one of the best leaders from what you've seen in his getting people energized, getting the crowd energized, the style of play. You ever notice when they scored how fast Magic Johnson got the ball up to half court? You know, those are Showtime things, but you're setting up the play with 20 seconds on the clock, and just him getting everybody involved, knowing what...
Magic Johnson taught Webber a completely different lesson. As a big man who loved passing the basketball himself, Webber was fascinated by the effortless way Magic kept everything flowing. He turned difficult reads into easy scoring chances, made complicated offenses look simple, and constantly created opportunities for everyone else. Watching Magic showed Webber that leadership wasn't only about scoring. It was about making the entire team better every time you touched the ball. To Webber, Bird was the player you feared because he was so efficient, disciplined, and prepared. Magic was the player you admired because he could naturally take over every part of the game without making it look difficult. Choosing between them wasn't easy. For Webber, it depended on what kind of personality and energy you wanted leading your team. Paul Pierce also grew up watching Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, and by the time he reached the NBA, their names were already woven into basketball history. Although he never faced either player during their prime, their influence could still be seen throughout the league. Bird's style especially connected with Pierce. The patience, footwork, confidence, and ability to get to the perfect spot without relying on overwhelming athleticism reminded Pierce of the way he wanted to play. As he developed into the Celtics' leader, Bird's approach left a lasting impact on his own game. Bird showed that success wasn't always about jumping the highest or running the fastest. It came from understanding the game, staying composed, and making the right play at the right time. That basketball IQ became something Pierce deeply respected as his own career continued to grow.
So it was just like a battle of, you know, who was the better, the styles. Bird was slow, could shoot the jumper. Magic was fast, can pass. And it was just like, you know, this guy Bird, you know, him being a white player, because we always felt like, you know, this is a black sport, you know, and so you're seeing a guy like Bird coming in and dominate. And it was just like, whoa, you know, this is something that could last a long time. It started with them two in college, a chance to get his revenge. So it was like all kind of subplots with this rivalry just throughout the whole 80s decade. And it was just like, you know, whose side are you?
Magic, meanwhile, always felt larger than life. Watching him wasn't only about points, assists, or championships. It was about the energy he brought every night. He played with excitement, creativity, and confidence. But underneath all of that was a relentless drive to win. Pierce admired how Magic led with unselfishness, consistency, and complete trust in his teammates. Even from afar, those qualities stood out. In the end, Pierce leaned toward Larry Bird because he connected more closely with Bird's style of play. Even so, he never overlooked Magic's enormous influence. To Pierce, Magic helped define what a true franchise leader looked like and raised the standard for every superstar who came after him. When Charles Barkley entered the NBA, he felt like he was stepping into a league that Larry Bird and Magic Johnson had already transformed. Packed arenas, national television coverage, and superstar attention had become the new normal. In Barkley's view, those changes didn't happen by accident. Bird and Magic helped make the NBA bigger than ever, creating opportunities for future generations to build legendary careers and earn success both on and off the court. Barkley has often made it clear that players from his era owed a great deal to the foundation those two legends helped build.
Because Magic Johnson and Larry Bird are the two most important figures. I remember the first time Magic, when he made $1 million, we were going around high-fiving each other. We couldn't believe an NBA player made $1 million. And it's all because of Magic and Bird, who changed the whole dynamic of the league. So every time I see those guys, I want them to know, man, thank you.
On the court, Charles Barkley knew there was no easy night whenever Larry Bird or Magic Johnson stood on the other side. Bird made every matchup feel personal. He showed up ready to compete, backed himself every second, and never shied away from letting opponents know exactly what was coming. Then he'd go out and deliver anyway. His confidence, toughness, and ability to perform in the biggest moments made him one of the hardest players anyone could face. Magic Johnson created a completely different challenge. Instead of trying to beat you with one move, he controlled the entire game from start to finish. He kept teammates involved, dictated the pace, and always seemed to know the perfect play before anyone else saw it. For Barkley, Magic's greatest strength wasn't just his numbers. It was the way he made every player around him better and kept his team connected from opening tip to the final buzzer. Looking back, Barkley believed their impact reached far beyond wins, championships, or individual awards. Magic and Bird helped prove that basketball could become something much bigger than a sport. They helped transform the NBA into a worldwide attraction, opening doors for future generations of players to build incredible careers and lasting legacies. In Barkley's eyes, the league everyone enjoys today was built on the foundation those two legends helped create. As an important part of the legendary Showtime Lakers, Byron Scott experienced Magic Johnson's leadership every single game. Magic wasn't only the point guard. He was the voice of the team, the leader in every huddle, and the player who set the tone before the game even began. Scott watched Magic completely change the energy of a game without always looking to score. One possession could become a blazing fast break, and the next would end with a perfectly timed pass that put a teammate in the best possible position. Everything seemed to flow naturally whenever Magic was running the show.
And those two guys were just totally different players, from totally different spectrums of the world, basically, you know, and they just had a different style, which I thought was the thing that was the most compelling, is that everybody wanted to see us play them because they were the hard-nosed, tough, East Coast type team that used the pass to kind of run their fast break, and we were the Showtime, tuxedo wearing, you know, just run up and down. We don't, I mean, it was just two different styles. So I thought it was interesting that you had, Magic against Bird, because really they never really guarded each other, much, but just the fact that they were on the court was a rivalry because they wanted to beat each other so bad.
Scott also battled Larry Bird and never underestimated what made him so dangerous. Bird didn't rely on speed or flashy athleticism. He relied on timing, smart positioning, incredible basketball IQ, and staying calm under pressure. He never looked rushed. Instead, he patiently waited for defenders to make one small mistake before taking full advantage. That steady, confident approach made Bird one of the toughest competitors Scott ever faced. Even with all the respect he had for Bird, Scott believed the biggest difference came from what he witnessed every day alongside Magic. He saw Magic lift an entire team, organize one of basketball's greatest dynasties, and make everyone around him more effective. To Scott, Bird was unquestionably an all-time great, but Magic's leadership and ability to control every part of the game placed him in a category all by himself. Magic Johnson and Larry Bird didn't just define an era, they completely changed the future of basketball. Their influence can still be seen in today's NBA, from the way the game is played to how teams are built and how superstars are expected to lead. They brought legendary franchises back to the top, turned regular season games into must-watch events, and made every finals matchup feel like history was being written right in front of the fans. The players who competed against them all seemed to agree on one thing. Everything felt bigger whenever Magic or Bird stepped onto the court. Magic inspired teammates with his vision, leadership, and ability to make everyone around him better. Bird answered with unmatched skill, toughness, confidence, and a basketball mind that punished every mistake. Their rivalry pushed each other to even greater heights, raised the standard for the entire league, and left behind a legacy that still shapes basketball decades later. Their names aren't just written in the record books, they're part of the NBA's DNA forever. What do you think? Who had the greater career? Magic Johnson or Larry Bird? Let us know your pick and your reasons down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with other basketball fans who love debating the greatest players of all time. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.